Let's start talking about schemas. In other products, or when talking about relational database concepts, a schema normally means the entire structure of your database consisting of tables, views, and so on. In DB2, a schema normally refers to a namespace or a prefix or qualifier of an object. Every object in DB2 has two parts, a schema name and an object name. A schema name doesn't need to be provided all the time when you work with database objects in DB2, because there will be an implicit schema being used. Normally, the implicit schema is the connection ID used when connecting to a database, but you can also set it with the set schema command. For example, let's connect to the sample database using the user ID rfchong. Because I don't provide the using parameter, then it's going to prompt me for the password. So I input a password, and now I'm connected to the sample database using the connection ID rfchong. Now let's create a table. db2 create table xyz.t1, column 1 integer, column 2 integer, and press enter. Note that xyz is a schema, and it doesn't need to map to any user in the operating system. It is just an arbitrary name. Note as well that this schema was created on the go, because my user rfchong has a privilege to do so. If I now do db2 select star from t1 and press enter, I will get an error because we are looking, or db2 is looking for the table rfchong.t1. db2 uses the user ID of that connection as the implicit schema in this case. If I issue db2 select star from xyz.t1, now I do get the right result. Now let's create a table as follows. db2 create table t1 col1 integer. Note that I'm not specifying the schema name, and I press enter. Now a table has been created, and it should have been the table rfchong.t1 since I didn't provide the schema, therefore the implicit schema was used. So to confirm this, I can do a db2 select star from rfchong.t1 and press enter. And as you can see, there is one column, and this is the table that we created earlier without the schema name. Now, if we want to change the schema to be used as implicit schema, we can type db2 set schema Raul, for example, and press enter. So now if I issue any command without specifying the schema name in the statement, Raul would be used as implicit schema. So if I do now a db2 select star from t1 and press enter, I will get an error because it's looking for Raul.t1, which does not exist. So schemas are important for you to understand because a common error for new DB2 users is to create objects with one schema, and later on they cannot find those objects because they are connected with another user ID. A schema can be used for grouping a bunch of tables together. Maybe they are related. One schema could be used for test, another for development, another for production. For example, say you want to develop a Java application and you embed SQL statements which refer to DB2 objects, but you don't include the schema. And say the user ID and password are passed to the program at runtime. You can have 2 or 3 sets of tables which are defined exactly the same, but one could be created for a schema test, and the other one could be created for schema dev, another one could be created for schema production. So since the program refers to the DB2 objects without a schema, then the implicit schema is used based on the connection ID. So if you have a user test and you start executing this command, then it will be referring to the tables that have the schema test. The same thing if you now decide to connect with the user dev for development and you point or execute this application again, then the application will point to the tables with the schema dev and so on. Right, so this is one example of when schemas could be useful.